Our theme is Climb the Mountain, which, by the way, talk about climbing a mountain. Hannah's climbing a mountain right now. She is in labor to deliver. So we wish well for her and for that family. I don't know if I ever told you this, probably not. But did you know that I'm a mountain climber? Yeah, I've been up the pinnacle. Of course, so have all 5 and 6 and 7-year-olds in the county of Madison been up there too. Mountain climbing. I don't know why they do it. I don't understand the idea of going up the side, the sheer side of a mountain with nothing apparently to hold on to. And yeah, I know they drive things into the wall of the mountain and they hold on. I get it. But I don't get it. Mountain climbing. It's a great analogy, however, to describe the lives that we live. It's a great analogy to describe what we're doing in the Christian life. It's a great analogy for us to consider this entire year. But notice, interestingly, what happens in the text just read. The text says that Jesus was going toward Jerusalem. Jerusalem is a city set on a number of different hills and mountains. And so his mind was set, his idea was there. This is where I'm headed. I'm going to Jerusalem. In fact, his whole life of ministry was built around looking forward to going to Jerusalem for the final time. And it was a journey up a mountain. This text, where Jesus said, while he was heading up the mountain, strive to enter the narrow gate. The word strive, pronouncing the Greek word, you will hear the English word, agonizomai, agony. What did he say? Agonize to enter the narrow gate. It is an intention that requires great effort. It is not something that's going to be easy and no trouble at all. He says to agonize over it. That could be a reference to the physical difficulty, the physical agony of meeting the obstacles of life. It could have reference to the mental agony of the pressure and the stress to be what God wants us to be, and indeed what we want to be ourselves. As Jesus headed toward Jerusalem, as Jesus climbed the mountain, it was not easy, but it was necessary. For us today, the same thing is true. Our mountain climbing will not be easy, but it absolutely is necessary. Will you think with me for a few minutes about this concept? In order to try and understand a little more about mountain climbing, I read from mountain climbers. Makes sense, though I obviously didn't know, that there is a scale by which every mountain in the world that people climb is rated on some kind of a scale. And when I looked at the various characteristics that go into deciding the grade for that particular mountain, it occurred to me that there are characteristics that say the mountain that we are climbing is not easy. The toughest mountains that people climb have these characteristics in its extreme. For instance, the length of the climb. How long is it going to take you to get to the top? How long is that climb? Determines how difficult it is. It's not easy. They talk about the technicalities that go into it. You got to make adjustments in order to get up the mountain because it won't work this way, so you adjust. It's about a sustained period on that mountain climb that things are difficult with no reprieve, no relaxing. It's about the exposure to all kinds of things that you're going to face while on the mountain, from weather and things falling, all of that. And the uneven path that you have to crawl. Those characteristics fit, I think, very well the mountain climb of the Christian life. Think about it as the length of the journey. It seems like I have been here a long time, almost 65 years. And when you're young and you're looking at people and you say, whoa, he looks or she looks like they've been here a really long time. Life, to get to the end, at times seems long. But certainly if you're trying to get to a reward. Paul said in Galatians 6 and verse 9, do not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season we will reap if we do not faint. The length of the climb at times says, can I get through this? Can I make it? Can I endure? Am I going to be able to run the whole way, to do the whole climb? It's not easy. The technicalities of the climb, having to make constant maneuvers, fit well with the Christian life. In James 2, it was James who said, if you fulfill the royal law, you've done well. But if you show partiality, you are a transgressor of the law, because whoever keeps the whole law and yet offends in one point, he's guilty of all. The technicalities we understand. God doesn't rate sin like we do. He doesn't say it's okay to do this little sin, but it's really bad to do the bad sin. He just says don't sin. And therefore we know that we're making constant technical adjustments that say, I can't mess up. I need to do this right. And that mental burden makes the mountain climb not easy. And then we have to go through these sustained periods where things don't seem to be going right. Count it all joy, my brethren, when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. And let patience have its perfect work, that you may be complete and entire, lacking nothing. James 1, 2, and 3. There may be times in life, in the climb as a Christian, where we have an extended period of difficulty. It's not easy. Not easy. And on this climb, we are constantly exposed. Watch. For your adversary, the devil, like a roaring lion, walks about seeking whom he may devour. And we are exposed. He's shooting at us. He's throwing obstacles in the way. It's not easy, this climb, because we are exposed. And the path is uneven. The path is difficult. Paul would say, I've learned in whatever state I am to be content. I know how to abound and I know how to be abased. In the climb up the mountain in our lives, it's uneven. There will be times when we feel like champions. And there are times that we feel like losers. Because it's not easy climbing that mountain. It wasn't easy for Jesus climbing the mountain, but he did. But this mountain climbing is necessary. That's what I read from the people who climb mountains. They said, we just must do it. I have never looked at a mountain and said, I just got to walk up it. I can't help it. I've looked at a buffet line. I just can't help it. I fill my plate and it runs over the side because I just can't help it. So I don't understand the mountain climbing experience, but I know what they said. They said, it calls us. It draws us. Now, while any of us may not understand that call or that draw that just compels them to climb, I'm sure there are things that compel you and draw you. Maybe it's You drive by a car lot and you see that car you've been looking at for all the time, and you just can't help it. You got to turn in there and go over there and look at it. Maybe it's a movie you've been waiting to come out for something or other, and you can't help it, and you get there first in line to get the ticket. Or like James Blankenship did, he couldn't wait for Buc-ee's to open. He wanted to be the first, and he was. What'd you do? He said, I just ran in and grabbed a shirt so I could be the first one. I don't even know if he got the right size. I really don't. But he couldn't help it. That's what these mountain climbers say. But doesn't that fit the Christian life? If we are in tune, if we let the spiritual part of us take precedence, isn't that what happens? No one can come to me unless my Father draws him. John 6:44. And in John 12:32, Jesus said, if I am lifted up, I will draw all people to me. Are you drawn to Jesus? Am I compelled? Do we have this need that just calls out and says, I got to do this? The love of Christ compels me. Being drawn to Jesus is what will help us climb the mountain that is not easy, because it is necessary. These mountain climbers said, as Jesus was walking up the mountain himself, maybe he had some of these ideas too. Maybe as he was heading to Jerusalem, knowing what was ahead, maybe he was thinking, I'm climbing the mountain to achieve a goal. In Philippians 1, Paul said, it's far better for me to depart and be with Christ. But it's necessary for me to stay with you. Paul had a goal in mind. Jesus had a goal in mind. And he wanted to achieve that goal. If heaven is your goal, then the climb is necessary. Maybe Jesus thought, as do some of these mountain climbers, oh man, there's a challenge. There's a challenge. The writer said, we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. Lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Lay aside the weight. That's a challenge. Maybe Jesus saw Jerusalem as a challenge. The climbers said, we climb the mountain to be close to nature. The mountain climbing for a Christian is our nature. I'm crucified with Christ, who was crucified in Jerusalem on a mountain. Nevertheless, I live. This is my nature. Yet not I, but Christ lives in me. And that the life that I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. Jesus did it because that's who he was. We climb the mountain because that's who we are. It's necessary. The mountain climbers said, "It gives us great joy to climb the mountain." The Hebrew writer continued in chapter 12, verse 2, looking to Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of the Father. It's not easy, but it is joyful. But finally, maybe you already know what the main reason why mountain climbers climb. This is what they said. We climb mountains because it is there. That's the reason. Because it is there. In our Christian lives, we climb the mountain because it is there. It is in front of us. It calls to us. It draws us. It's not easy, but it is necessary. If then you were raised with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ is, sitting at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above, not on things on the earth, for you died. And your life is hidden with God in Christ. And when Christ, who is our life, appears, we also shall appear with him in glory. Mountain climbing is not easy, but it is necessary, because for a Christian, it is there and it draws us. And we cannot turn it down. I hope that all of us are drawn to Jesus. I'm sure we all want to be. But maybe it's the mountain climb that scares us and keeps us away. Well, thankfully, he never said you had to climb alone. I'm sure we will deal with that theme this year. Since we're all trying to climb, we have help with each other. But when you decide that as a child of God you failed in the mountain climbing, look to your brethren and look to God who will forgive, and start climbing again. And if you've never accepted the call of the mountain, if you've never accepted the draw to be a mountain climber for Jesus, you can begin that journey today. When you are immersed into him and he becomes your life, and that life is a mountain climbing experience. Can we help you today with your mountain? Meet our shepherds as we stand and sing.